I like this reading. It makes me think about, how Alcoholics Anonymous, everybody is so different. Everybody's story is different. And I did have headaches, and I was very sick. And I'd have hangovers, which I think led me to drink. Like, I would wake up and do the hair of the dog that bit you, so I wasn't sick. And but I was so hungover that I'd have a couple drinks and be like really drunk fast because I still had all that booze in me the night before. So everybody's different, but what I really was drawn to is what he says here when he says, never once have I had a headache, which leads me to believe I was an alcoholic almost from the start, not from the start of his, demise, but from the start. My whole life seemed to be centered around doing what I wanted to do without regards, rights, wishes, or privileges of anyone else, a state of mind which became more and more, prominent as the years went on. So to me, that's really talking about, he's referring to that he kind of knew he was an alcoholic the whole time because of this, I'm going to do what I want when I want to do it, and there's no one else, everyone's stick figures around me, and he talks about the state of mind, which I believe is alcoholism. I personally know that I was born an alcoholic. I behaved alcoholically before I ever had a drink. I can see it when I look back. And it was this kind of thinking. I remember this thing about drinking was, when I was, like that 17, 18, when you're about to be free. I was pretty, I was young, I had discovered drinking, and I didn't have a fear in the world. I was, you know what I mean? I don't know when that takes place, but I never thought about like what I was going to do for money. I remember moving out. I wasn't worried about how I was going to pay the rent or if I was going to get a job. I just was going to take life by the horns. And and with no regard to anybody else. It was my life. It was about me. Here I come, right? That was my thinking. And at the time I discovered cocaine, which did not help that kind of thinking. It was like I was on fire. And I just rolled ahead. And it went badly, It went really bad. And, looking back now, I remember one day it was the day of graduation. And I was in my car, and I was running a couple errands, and that day we were graduating. It's a big fucking day, and I barely graduated. And I was in my car, this will tell you, it was in the 80s, and that song came on by Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And I remember sitting in there in my car. And even now, that song comes on, and I flash to that moment when I was like, fuck, nothing could stop me, It was that kind of thinking, and that's what I think of when he talks about this. And I've had that state of mind, since really prevalent since I started drinking and using, like in junior high. Fuck everybody. My mom, what? Blah, 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 blah. Teachers, blah, 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 Just get out of my way, and I think that's what I referred to, that's what I really related to in this reading, was that it happened a long time before my demise. I've been an alcoholic my entire life, and I need help with that state of mind. And that state of mind still happens when I'm sober. It's the same thing. It's worse when you don't have a drink, I think.